I suppose there is an art to traveling that you've been doing it for so long, it just becomes quite effortless. And I'm just wondering how many of these pearls of wisdom, when you're in the travel, be it the airport, the airplane, if that makes this information come to you in a more powerful way, or is it that you get this information when you're, you know, washing your hair, or does it just come when it wants to?
You know, the moment a decision is made that I'm going to be doing this, that information is downloaded, I call it. And I start really working with it. You know, so I have several pearls of wisdom that are like 50, 60, 80 pearls of 80th pearl of wisdom, which I really want to talk about now, but it's quite nice. You know, every week I just wait to receive my inner guidance on this week. It's going to be about this.
And for those of you who are joining,
it does make a difference when you are above 30,000 feet somehow, you know, especially if you're able to be in a space. And I always make it like my duty to focus my attention on love, kindness, and compassion, and just spread that into the world. So I'm usually on a long stretch of meditative state when I'm traveling, sharing that love, kindness, and compassion. And in that space, I receive so much amazing guidance.
I love that. I love that, Mynoo. I'm going to go ahead and handle the back room.
Okay.
Thank you all for joining tonight. We're so excited to have Mynoo uncover this 21st Pearl of Wisdom, which is Bliss. And welcome, Joni. We have David. David and Helene have joined us, and Renelle. It's great to see everyone. Thank you for coming tonight, Linda, Mary Catherine, and I'll just handle the back room. Mynoo, if you want to go forward. Welcome everyone to our 21st Pearl of Wisdom, which is Bliss.
Great, great. Yes, welcome. And some of you I'm seeing again, only after a few hours. So great to see you all. It's such a great time of the year. You know, and in amidst all of that, it's very important to acknowledge and be very aware of certainly what is going on in India. It's, you know, there were many videos made of situations where there's no oxygen and people were dying and no hospital beds, and pretty horrific looking videos were made last year about what was going on in India. They were doctored. That was not the case last year. And that's all playing out this year. It's actually happening. And it's difficult to imagine what it is like. And this time, there are many of the deaths that are taking place is often lack of oxygen. And there are certain medication that has become when oxygen levels go down very rapidly, that's being given to support people, which actually just shuts down the immune system for a period of time. So a lot of the deaths, especially the young ones, have been because of kidney failure or other organ failures as a result of the immune systems being shut down. So whatever it is, you know, there is a great deal of sadness about what's occurring. And in amidst all of that, you know, the important thing is to continue to honor those that choose to depart so that we can continue to enrich this world, get closer and closer to finding our own center despite whatever is occurring. So I always choose to honor those that are departing, holding the container that you know, inner healing takes place and organs are able to recuperate and return to their originating intent and recalibrate themselves. So we've been doing in the Beyond Meditation, really holding India as well as other parts of the world in a beautiful container of a remembrance of a self-healing, for that to spread across the world. Because it feels very it can feel quite awkward, we're talking about bliss when all of this stuff is going on. And the reality is, one of the commandments is collaborative co-creation of coexistence. So there is a coexistence of different experiences that are there. When you have fragility in any person or any particular situation or a part of the world, what is important is for that fragility to receive uplifting vibrations so that that situation can be turned around with strength. So rather than add to the already growing fragility or growing anxiety, I choose to notice how I feel, acknowledge it, and unconditionally accept what is, and step into moving forward by doing what I can do to uplift vibrations. With that having been said, I'm very happy for us to begin our session today, the 21st Pearl of Wisdom on Bliss. So let's begin with, so what I received really was that we're going to be talking about the 7 blocks to bliss. And I immediately went into blocks as in blocks that come in the way of bliss. It is 7 blocks to bliss. And it's 7 blocks as in, yes, blocks that come in the way, as well as building blocks that you can work with. And bliss continues to accentuate. And given that bliss has been chosen as one of the 108 pearls of wisdom, it is something that can make this world a world that works for everyone. So with that in mind, I'm going to just go ahead and begin with the first block. The block, as in the block that comes in the way of bliss. So before we go into it, understanding a block that comes in the way, a block is, what is a block? A block is when we are stubbornly attached to a prescribed way of doing something. So the first block is understanding what is it that we are stubbornly attached to in the context of bliss, which is a prescribed way of making it happen. So the doingness, doing bliss and being attached to the idea that to experience anything, we have to get into a state of doing. That in itself is quite a significant block. The realization of this, that when you experience a block in something that you desire, then all it is saying is it's an indicator that you are stubbornly attached to a prescribed way of doing something. It doesn't have to be related to this. But when we become very attached to our way, a prescribed way, and become, stop being open to other ways in which the same thing can be attained, it becomes a block. And it is also a building block. Because when you uncover what is it that I'm so attached to, you don't have to go and do anything with it other than make a conscious choice of not being attached to it. That may be a safeguard that you have. And that's okay. But being attached to it means you're not able to let go of that is the way to attain whatever it is that you're going for. And in this case, we're talking about bliss. So in terms of practically how you would go about implementing this, you would look at, what am I attached to that comes from the past? And it is a way that I subscribe to. It is a way that I prescribe to others and to myself, and I will not budge from that. So you making your list of what am I attached to, just even doing that gives you a really good understanding of how blocks might start developing. And when it comes to bliss, and us being very attached to a prescribed way in which we are going to make that happen for us, we keep pushing it away, further and further away. And we may have momentary glimpses of it. It absolutely is not sustainable and totally not regenerative. So the first one is to understand what a block is and understand where you are attached. And all there is to do once you have made your list is, even in acknowledging that this is the list of things that I am very attached to be done in this very specific way. And I choose to be open about it. Knowing that you already know how to do those things in that way, you can actually relax and start becoming more open-minded about it. The block disappears. And many areas of your life that were blocked literally stop being blocked. And there is an opening that is created for bliss to manifest. The second one is a building block. So if bliss is not about doing, then what is it? Bliss is another one of those that is a consequence. So it's a consequence of what? So what is the action that results in bliss? So bliss is the consequence of counting our blessings. I mean, really no form of meditation, getting into the zone or anything like that actually results in bliss. It may be a momentary experience that will just come and fleet by and be gone. The way you achieve regenerative bliss is by proactively starting to count your blessings. So even if you are, in a meditative state, you may be stationed in one place, or you may be on a walking meditation, or whatever type of meditation you may be in. Just before you get into the zone, as you're focusing your attention on your breath, just add that little nuance of starting to count your blessings. It literally is like that, that strategy when you can't sleep and they say, start counting sheep, and at some point the counts disappear and off you go to sleep. It's a little bit like that. You start counting your blessings, you enter the zone, and you reach a state of bliss. Even if you are not meditating, you may be in the middle of, crying babies or working on something or the other, and you start counting your blessings. Because, here's the thing, you don't have to count them aloud. Nobody else needs to know that you're doing it. And all it takes is for you to start counting your blessings, and bliss is the consequence. How cool is that? I was very excited about this. So I use this a lot. And, some of you who receive emails and stuff from me often see that in my signing line, count your blessings to be in bliss. It is a building block. Counting your blessings is a building block. Blessings are a given. You don't have to go looking for them. We all have them. The very fact that we even have the mental wherewithal to know that we can count our blessings is a blessing in itself. You have life, which is a state in which you're breathing. That's a blessing. Because that is what is needed first before you can start living your life and before you can start experiencing what coming alive means. So you can just literally begin. You can begin with anything. Sometimes, especially given what is going on out there in the world, there are things that can destabilize us. There are things that can cause anxiety. All of that is there. So it may be that it's difficult to find something within us, but you can always find something outside of you. Be it a tree, be it a blossom, be it flowers, be it quietness, whatever it may be. You can begin from the outside or the inside. The key thing is count your blessings. So this one is a little more than just noticing. This is actually noticing and adding that to your count of blessings. So this is the second block. And the block that comes in the way is a question of deserving, that I don't deserve this. Or it is, we can't be talking about blessings. We just have to get on and do the work. We can't be sitting here counting our blessings right now. People are out there dying. There's no oxygen. There's whatever is going on. All of that is there. In the midst of all of that, even if it is for a minute, just take that pause and count your blessings. And you experience a state of regenerative bliss. Dadi Janki is a leader of the Brahma Kumaris, and she crossed over at 103 last year. One of the things I learned from her, she would come to the UK a lot, and I have a very dear friend whose home she would stay in Yorkshire. So there would be like 20, 25 of us. So I've had that beautiful privilege to spend that quality time with her. And one of the things that I learned from her was this idea of creating a 1 minute alarm that goes off every hour. So I use that 1 minute for myself to count my blessings. So every hour, for a minute, I count my blessings. Now that may be excessive for some. So you can do it 4 times a day. You're only taking 4 minutes of your time. And really what we're doing here is that when you get into a rhythm and a routine of doing something, and something like this, where you're going to be counting your blessings, what message are you giving to the universe? And that is the third building block, which is a camaraderie and a partnership with the universe. So creating a practice where you strengthen and acknowledge and accept this partnership with the universe, knowing that the universe, its only role is to apply a multiplier effect to whatever it is that you direct it to. And it applies the multiplier effect to the vibrations of that situation. So having this counting my blessings every minute, and sometimes when I'm engaging in a day of miracle lens binge, I might literally use my miracle lens to notice what's making my heart sing and turn up the volume in that minute every hour. Sometimes I just alternate it. 1 hour is, noticing that which is making my heart sing. The next hour is going to be counting my blessings. So I do what I do. And it's then literally over to the universe to apply its multiplier effect. Because what I know when I do that, counting my blessings, bliss is the state that I'm in. And bliss doesn't have to be that everybody has to be quiet out there. The lights need to be off or lights need to be on, whatever. All those prerequisites that we put on something like bliss, none of those are necessary. You can actually have access to bliss anywhere. Wherever you can count your blessings, bliss is there. I love these consequence words. Because you hear this stuff. Enjoy the journey. It's the journey that counts. So the journey to bliss is the journey of counting your blessings. Of course, it's a journey that counts. Because bliss is a consequence anyway. And how cool is that? And that is the fourth block, which is it's the journey that counts. Now, it's interesting how each of these blocks can be a block that comes in the way, or it can be a building block that takes you towards. So it's the journey that counts. When you are very focused on the journey, it's very easy to get consumed by the content of what is occurring. Because you're in the midst of the journey. And at the same time, it can be a phenomenal building block when you understand and start separating consequence words from the action that results in that consequence and engage in the action. Acting on bliss as bliss doesn't actually get you to a state of bliss. It certainly puts you on a quest for it. And it accentuates the fact that you don't have it. And the longer you don't have it, the further away it gets, and it starts to develop a vibration of unrequitedness. So the action is counting your blessings. And it's a journey of counting your blessings, means you will be noticing, you will get proactive in discovering the blessing in every situation, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful. And that's the journey. There are two other consequence words that I've talked about. One is happiness in the past. No, happiness is a decision. The other consequence word that I've talked about is peace. The journey to peace is immersion in gratitude. Gratitude is a key to peace. So rather than doing peace, if you really want peace to occur as a reality, you become a gratitude hunter. You hold a gratitude rally. And peace is a consequence. And you don't even have to go mass. You can just do it for yourself. The same thing with bliss. You just have to choose to count your blessings. And in no time at all, you literally start discovering blessings in every situation. What is the blessing in what's going on in India right now, where so many people are, getting COVID, and the infrastructure is struggling right now? Well, what's the blessing in that? What I know, having had COVID myself, that when you do emerge from it, and it takes a while, you have that period of weakness and stuff, but when you do emerge from it, and you do, You know, it could be 5 weeks, it could be 7 weeks, and it may be a few months of overcoming any reactions to medication. But when you do emerge, it's very strange type of vibrancy gets added to the vitality. So you can imagine there's such a huge population that is going through this, that is going to emerge with this surge of vibrancy in their vitality and life force, coming out of a part of the world which is the seat of wisdom. There's something quite magical about that. So let's hold that space. That's a blessing in it. And I know there are a few of you here who have been in this journey of having had COVID at this time. And I know at least one of you has emerged from it. The main thing is there is no rush. Just allow yourself, at least the next 21 days, to recuperate fully, rest it out. And don't get restless about that. And keep counting your blessings. It's such an opportunity to turn that volume up. The next building block for bliss. So now you know it's a journey that counts, and it's a journey of counting your blessings, which results in the consequence of bliss. This next block, which is a building block, and it's a physiological action, and it's an action of laughter. And laughter, you know, just belly, and it could be a whole variety of laughs. And you can just experiment with it. It could be an artificial laugh, or it could be a belly laugh. All of these you can put on. You know, and really go for it. There's more than enough that is there online that can support you to get into a state of laughter. Now, what does a laughter do? Laughter actually does something similar to the role of hiccups when the baby is very, very little, like in that first 3 months, when little babies have these long stretches of hiccups like adults, and it feels quite stressful even watching them. They come out of it themselves, because we can't shove lots of water down their throat or give them sugar or any of those grandma remedies. They have to just come out of it themselves. So what really the role of hiccups is, it opens up the lungs. It creates the perfect opening of your vocal cords, so cleans out your vocal cords, right? So laughter does that as we become an adult. Laughter gives us access to all of those things. And you don't have to do it for that long. It could even be just a minute or 2 minutes. 10 minutes a day is really great. So I've got this practice of, pattern interrupts every hour. I just have it. I really like that idea. So I've been doing it now since 2007, so a long time. I've had this rhythm of an interruption every hour. So sometimes when I'm working with laughter, when I was really getting to know about laughter, and my teacher in this has been this amazing guy called Dr. Kataria. I think he's set several Guinness World of Records in terms of getting vast numbers of people across the world laughing. So I chose to immerse myself, I often do these 7-day plans. And I was in one of my 7-day plans, which was a B plan, where every day I would choose a B word. And every hour, I would interrupt my pattern for a minute and reconnect to whether I was being that way that day. And I also decided to bring in laughter for 2 of the 7 days. And I experimented with a whole variety of laughs. And I really got to see, I was also learning about chakras at the time. And I saw certain types of laughs that open up different chakras or get the chakras connected and spinning. It's quite an experience, like a physiological experience. And Dr. Kataria talks about all the science behind it all. But in the context of bliss, one of your building blocks is laughter. Even if there feels like there is nothing to laugh about. But what if you just laugh for a minute? A minute is a long time when you're laughing. Another very powerful toner of your internal organs, the movement that takes place, of the organs themselves, as well as the movement of the flow of energy that occurs when you laugh. It's quite something. And the block is holding ourselves back, saying there's nothing to laugh about. When you feel that there is nothing to laugh about, set a time and just laugh anyway. Just make it up. Act as if you are laughing. But why is it a building block to bliss? Because it really does get you in less than a minute, you will start experiencing the blessing of the impact of laughter. And you're able to then start counting your blessings, and bliss is the result. So create your own practices in such a way that you are able to do what there is to do. So these are very, very physiological actions that everyone can choose to take. For me, what the rhythm that I'm able to follow, when I consciously choose to be on a 7-day B plan. And by the way, it's detailed in the B book, which you can listen to. It's an audiobook as well as a physical book. It's very easy to do. You just choose your word for the day and connect to the fact that you're actually being that way, and do it regularly throughout the day. And you choose a different word each day for the next 7 days and simply allow the doing to flow. We have done more than enough planning of all the doing activities. And what if you take up a B plan just for the heck of it, play the game to step into B and you have, and allow the doing to flow. So, that's a very good container in which you can actually add laughter. Because for me, being magical was that there's a smile on my face and I'm laughing a lot and I'm laughing out loud. So the day that I chose to be magical, I introduced the laughter practice. So you'll create it in your own way. Ongoingly, I do have a morning practice, which is quite an elaborate breathing practice that some of you who've been on the journey to miracles have experienced. And I end that with a short stint in laughter. And knowing what I know now, that it opens up my lungs, it cleans out the vocal cords. It also shakes out stuff that might be blocking the villi in the small intestine when you laugh. All of those things are extremely important because you can go on a cleanse and do a colon cleanse. It doesn't get to the small intestine. And lungs are, as an organ, are compromised when we don't express our truth. When we hold back our expression is when our vocal cords start getting constricted. So developing ways in which you express your truth, all of that takes effort and it's worth doing. We talk about living from source. And you can have access to those openings through laughter. When you give it the context of bliss, laughter is a building block, and it provides an access into you being able to see the blessings and start counting your blessings. I keep being drawn to this whole analogy about counting sheep. Just seeing a painting or a picture of lots of sheep doesn't actually make you go to sleep. It's the act of counting sheep that ultimately does get you to go to sleep. Similarly, bliss may be something that you desire, and it's the act of counting your blessings, not just observing a blessing here and there, but actually starting to count your blessings is what results in regenerative bliss, because the universe gets the cue and it gives you more blessings to add to your count. And so it goes. The next block, which is a block that interferes in us reaching a state of bliss. And it's a block of evaluation and judgment that we have about people that seem to desire bliss, or people that seem to be in this ongoing state of bliss. Oh, they're off with the fairies. That sort of judgment. The state of bliss is really the state of being in your center at all times. And you can be super engaged in, very technical stuff, work-related stuff, whilst being stationed in a state of bliss. Or you can be really judgmental and put on a facade. And that takes you away from your truth. And then you're literally, manipulating, maneuvering to hold your place there. And discomfort starts to build up. Confusion is created. The universe now doesn't quite know what you want. And it literally goes for where the largest amount of your energy is going, which is in desperately trying to maintain your center when things around you are falling apart. So the universe goes, okay, she likes to be in this state of desperation. Right, let's give her more of that. So whatever you may feel about certain people who seem to be in this perennial state of bliss, and however they may express it, just know, that is their expression of it. Your expression may be quite different. Knowing what you know about bliss now, you don't have to have that occur in the way that other people are. I remember, I still find it quite annoying when, there are certain things being told to someone who seems to be in a state where they have got a higher degree of enlightenment, if you like, and they have this smile on their face and it's unperturbed, and someone's talking about something so emotional. And it actually gets annoying to the person who's sharing something emotional, and this person has this smile that is unperturbed. They are in a state of bliss, yes. And it is quite useful to, express empathy in a physical way, because people do want a physical relatedness. And it's something that I have to watch out for, because there's so little really out there that disturbs me these days. And having the seeing ability, I can see what lies beyond what is actually being shown, or what may be visible. That sometimes I'm very plugged into what lies beyond. It is this act of starting to count my blessings that gets me stationed in what's real. So if you allow the judgment to be released, you start working this whole concept of counting your blessings. You can do it in any place, in any situation, and know that this counting of blessings actually keeps you stationed in what's real. And bliss becomes this beautiful anchor into reality. I never thought about it that way. And it is so. Catherine, are we on the 7th block now? You need to
That was the 6th, the interference.
Okay, so what I have covered is 6. Now I'm coming to the 7th one.
Yes, that was the interference block. So we're coming to the 7th. Correct.
Yes. This is a building block to bliss. And this building block leverages a foundation of the new world. And the foundation it leverages is collaborative co-creation of coexistence. Collaborative co-creation of coexistence. And bliss is such a personal thing, such a personal experience. And sometimes you don't even want there to be collaborators. And what I have uncovered in my journey to finding bliss, I called it my Finding Nemo journey. It took a few years to really realize, oh, I'd already been in bliss all this time. And my collaborators at the time were, I knew that I could go to certain places and instantly be in a state of bliss. So this particular building block, collaborative co-creation of coexistence, calls you to look at who are your collaborators. What is your collaborator? And they don't have to be people necessarily. Even though we do live in a place, in a world where relationships is the foundation of it. So people do play a part. So initially, when I looked at who are my collaborators that make me feel so blessed, regardless of what's happening, and bliss is a consequence, I found it was the Git waterfall in Bali. It was, the sunset from one particular spot. In Uluwatu was there. There was a particular cave that I know, Catherine, you've been to, and the journey out of that cave in this exquisite place in Bali where you come out into this tree, which looks like the Avatar movie, the tree in the Avatar movie. That was my collaborator. So it was all these places, that experience of getting to the top of the volcano at sunrise, and the excitement of my guide boiling his eggs in the vapor that's coming out of the volcano. That was my collaborator, that experience. So there was a number of experiences is what I came up with initially. So every time I felt, bliss alert, I would go to one of these places. And then I understood that there are many layers to collaborators. How do I get to these places? Who are the humans that come together to enable me to get there? They too are my collaborators. So then I started including my driver, a goose, and my chef, Kadek. A whole number of humans came in to it. I started seeing that there is a difference between collaborators and co-creators. Coexistence occurs just because I hold that intention. So not all collaborators are necessarily co-creators. And the interesting thing, diving deep into this 7th building block was extremely powerful. And I was able to engage with it, knowing that in the end, bliss is going to be the consequence. I'm just getting all the different elements of this building block. So if you're engaging with it, the interesting thing, when you go back and review this video, you go back and review your notes, you will notice that each block is whole and complete in itself. And if you only practice that block for a period of time, you will be in a state of regenerative bliss. And there'll be many other parts of your life that will literally start blossoming, so that you become more aware of more things that constitute blessings. So coming back to this particular block, building block, get to know who your collaborators are in humans as well as in experiences. And it could be a particular project, it could be a piece of music. It could be, a dance sequence, a vista. Get to know your collaborators. And then what helped me was to look at, okay, for me to have these experiences, who were the humans that had to come together and collaborate? And then you look at which of these are actually my co-creators. So my driver was my co-creator. My chef was a collaborator. My friend JP was a collaborator for the most part, and certain times she was a co-creator with me. Co-creators have got a particular quality to them. They have the ability to fulfill a certain aspect of that creation. They are an important other party to the creation. And what am I creating when I'm engaged in bliss? I'm really creating a collection of experiences that are rich in, laden with blessings. Because bliss is the consequence. So who are these other parties that will create this with you? And the first thing is to get to know who they are, and then you can engage with the what and the how. The overarching what in the context of this is a collection of blessings. Now, coexistence, collaborative co-creation of coexistence. That is a finger on the pulse. So that particular aspect, you keep your finger on the pulse. So as a result of you creating something, you're not destroying several other things. This whole experience of collaborative co-creation of coexistence that resulted in this regenerative experience of bliss, the journey that really brought it home to me was when we took the little piece of land that we had attached to our villa and converted it into a permaculture farm. It wasn't acres and acres, it was actually quite a small space. And it was a collaborative co-creation of coexistence that took place, which had, not just humans, but also elements and all sorts of creatures that came together for that to occur. And that entire journey of preparing the soil, which took over 6 months, experiencing the earth heat up just by the hive of activity of the various creatures that started growing in it because of what we had put in the soil. And remember, we were creating this in a piece of land that had no supply of water. So whatever water came in the rains had to feed the aquifers enough for the aquifers to continue to water that space. It really brought home to me the full spectrum of collaborators, co-creators, and coexistence. It got me to see that coexistence, I don't have to become very Nazi-like about that. I just have to keep my finger on that pulse. And the overarching context is every day we take stock of our blessings. We would get together, and the brief for my team was we are building, beautiful edible landscape here. And it's going to be done in a permaculture way. I had no idea what permaculture was other than if a forest is a permaculture experience, then I like that. And what about having it in a beautiful edible landscape that you can walk around and pick and eat anything you want? And with that brief, we finally managed to create something. We had more than 90 things growing in it, And you could walk through it without being attacked by mosquitoes, just because the plants were created in such a way that we didn't need to have those, an overarching deluge of any pests. Permaculture does that. But it was this focus on experiencing collaborative co-creation of coexistence, having done the foundation level work, understanding the difference between collaborators, co-creators, and coexistence, knowing that coexistence is a finger on the pulse. And it is an uncompromising finger on the pulse. So all my collaborators knew that. All our co-creators knew that too, that we were going to create coexistence. The biggest challenge we had there was in creating the beehive. So that, when you do take the honey, we are going to do it with the finger on the pulse of coexistence. And we did it. It's another story for another time. But as a building block of bliss, this is a very important block. And it's the nuance that you focus on. And it serves you and serves you and serves you, not only in creating regenerative bliss, but knowing who your collaborators are. You could literally implement this. And you know that all of these collaborators and co-creators are available to you in whatever it is that you choose to engage in life. It was quite exciting for me to know that I didn't have to go to a waterfall or the top of the volcano, which is always a really big exercise, like hours and hours of walking and trekking to get there. I didn't have to do any of that to experience bliss. But that was my journey to arrive at an understanding of what it took. This is the other piece that I got from this collaborative co-creation. Deep dive analysis was the importance of fellow human beings, the importance of relating, the importance of being connected within myself to be able to be connected with others. And it was a roller coaster ride. Because, I was at that point making my transition from being a corporate high flyer to being someone who was going to be living the calling of her soul. At that point, I didn't know what my calling was. And this journey was essential for me to get to a state of centeredness. And it was this regenerative bliss that gave me the opportunity to tap into my calling when that did arrive. So this particular building block can also become a block that prevents you from getting to bliss by becoming very attached to a prescribed way in which collaboration can occur. This is the only way I will allow you to collaborate on this project. And these are my rules for co-creation. I'm not saying that you don't have guiding principles. You can have guiding principles, you can have operating guidelines, and you can invite and acknowledge collaborators and invite them to sign up to become co-creators in your journey, fully understanding what your guiding principles are, what your operating guidelines are, giving the room for a conscious choice being made by those that are going to work with you, be alongside you. So getting clear about what is what is where you have zero tolerance and where there is a little bit of give is an important part of it. And communicating that in advance. I've made the mistakes of assuming that everybody got it, and they hadn't got everything in the way I had envisioned it. So again, that can be a block that can come in the way. So you will find your own way, being very attached to a prescribed way of communicating something. That also can come in as a block that prevents you from really harnessing this particular building block. There's a lot in this. Each one of these blocks have got something that could come in the way, and they have each one of these can be a building block in its own right. So my invitation, if you are going to embark on your journey of bliss, is you can make it a 7-month thing, and just go with one at a time. Flowing in your flow. So regenerative bliss can be had anywhere, anytime. You don't have to drop everything that you're doing and go sit by the ocean or up a mountain peak. And you can do that too. Wherever you are, whatever state you may be in, as long as you start developing a practice of counting your blessings, create your treasure trove, your own little tuck box. Every time you notice something blessing worthy can go in there, and you can dip into your blessing tuck box if you can't find anything outside of you to get into a state of bliss. To have it be regenerative, use the 7 blocks. Over to you, Catherine.
Thank you, Mynoo. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm floating right now. That was so beautiful and lovely. And I love how these blocks can be things that stop us or take us to the next level. That was just so brilliant. I definitely have a new appreciation for counting my blessings, and I guess counting sheep as well. Just make the sheep the blessings. Have the bliss of rest and rejuvenation. So if you would like to share a closing word or a closing comment, I would love to read those for Mynoo. Once again, brilliant, Mynoo, another wow. So yes, go ahead and share your comments and I'll just read those to Mynoo.
And these words, that the closing words are, you're reading it to me, but what we're doing is, when I communicate any wisdom like this, my communication is cellular. We are anchoring with these words. So it's like they are the blessing words in this instant. So we are anchoring bliss as something accessible to all. So the closing words are an important completion of this container in which the transmission of the pearl of wisdom occurs.
Wonderful. Thank you for that explanation. And we have them coming in. So we have celebration and gratitude. Removing the blocks to bliss. So true. Sending so much love and healing to our Indian brothers and sisters. I love that. I love bliss. Grace and gratitude. Absolutely beautiful. What a gorgeous.
Thank you all. Keep counting your blessings. Go forth and multiply. That's what I would say as my closing words.
And we have counting my blessings and choosing bliss, gratitude, and grace. Beautiful blessings, gratitude. Blessings to all. I don't know if that's supposed to be blessings, but I love blessings. That's the new word. Expanded by the to myself. Can't wait to try these building blocks. I'm in bliss thinking about my blessings. Blissful moments. Counting all the blessings plus great laughter. And with that, good night to everyone. Thank you all. Thank you, Mynoo. What a gorgeous evening. We knew it was going to be so much fun, and it has been. And we will see you right here next Thursday if we don't see you on the morning meditation. Bye, everyone. Thank you.